Okay, let's get into the topic of the week. This was actually submitted through the Facebook group, which is starting to pop off a little bit. We've had a bunch of new folks join the Patreon, lots of really great conversations there. There was a lot of conversations about last week's episode,
Mm.
talking about comparison and that kind of thing. That was really, really cool. I think we definitely struck a nerve with a group of our listening populace. So
Yeah,
that was
good.
amazing.
Yes.
And I think this one also kind of timely with Dan's situation, whatever. So Jeff Grant wanted us to talk about adapting to an injury.
Yeah.
And I kind of mentioned it earlier about, oh, I've got to sing with a cold. That's, one thing you kind of have to work through. It's probably the thing that most of you are familiar with. Some of the other examples that, we were talking through may not be something that you have gone through, but I feel like there has been multiple occasions where I've had to work around something
Yeah.
for one reason or another. So, current situation notwithstanding, can you think of any examples of times where you've had to kind of adapt?
Look, I mean, the growing reality of my feet for the last 2 years has been the thing that I've had to work around. I mean, I have had times when walking 100 feet from my car to the stage was just felt like miles.
Hmm.
There have been times when, under doctor's orders, tried to do acoustic gigs sitting down, and I got to where I was playing maybe half of the gig sitting, and I just hated the energy of it. I know there are people who it works for them, but it just never did for me well. And then just knowing what the next morning was going to be like, coming down the stairs the next morning after a gig was just, God, just miserable. I'd just be crying by halfway down. And so a big part of this medical move I've done here um, is to deal with that and to not have to work around it anymore. I mentioned my back earlier on. That is
Yep.
when that's in full flare up, like I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
And I've canceled one gig for that one time when it was just not possible. There have been a lot of gigs that I was on the edge or
Yeah.
not so much on the edge, but still feeling it because it comes on bad and then sort of backs down over the course of several days.
Yeah.
There is the phenomenon called stage health, stage wellness. During the gig, I feel great.
Yeah.
Invariably, my feet don't hurt, my back doesn't hurt. I don't feel the cold I've got. The adrenaline of the performance fully takes me over, and I'm great. And then by halfway through loadout, I'm in total crash out mode and
Yeah.
just need to get the hell home. The other thing that I was really dealing with kind of early pre-pandemic and going into the pandemic was I was having elbow issues in my
Right.
strumming arm, and it
Yeah.
was it was getting bad. It was getting to where I couldn't do loadout. I couldn't load at all with that arm. I was one armed for
Hmm.
weight bearing. I had to work around that by just getting through it. I think we push through a lot, and I think we had said we wanted to address sort of the wisdom of that. But I certainly did. I pushed through that a lot until I got some medical help with it. Have you ever had dry needling done?
I've not.
Are you familiar with the concept?
Yeah. Acupuncture, basically.
Well, acupuncture is tiny little needles that you don't feel. Dry needling, you feel like a mofo. And
Oh, okay.
they literally insert it into a knot in your muscle and then wiggle the needle around and unknot the muscle knot from inside of it. And you want to jump off the table and punch the guy. It's not pleasant, but man, does it work. By the time he's done, all the pain is gone and you're in great shape. I had 2 sessions of that on my elbow, and pretty much that took care of it.
Hmm.
And I had a session on my calves that dealt with my feet for a little while.
Hmm.
So it's a real thing. A PT in my area does it, physical therapist.
Yeah.
And so anyone who is familiar or has like ongoing sort of muscular things, that is something you can do. It's a quick, it takes them 10 minutes in a non hospital kind of environment, and that's a good way of getting sort of pain relief quickly and effectively. In the moment of getting it, it's highly unpleasant, but boy does it work.
Hmm.
But I mean, I was doing live streams during the pandemic to try to work out my elbow. I was calling them the
Mm-hmm.
elbow sessions. I got up to like elbow session number 7 or something. I was doing them a couple times a week when we were all going crazy looking for opportunities to engage with
Just
anyone
do
at all,
anything. Yeah.
anywhere in the universe. And I got up to some regulars coming on my streams. Um, and I just play as long as I could before my elbow gave out. As I think about our demographic, God bless you if you're not in this, but I know we're largely talking to dudes of our age.
Yeah.
In my life, particularly as I've transitioned from Adam's age to mine, there has been an increasing impact on my body of what we do that I've had to work around.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been through all different variations of, can I push my body through this situation?
Right.
I remember coming back from the pandemic where I had that one wedding gig, and like second to the last song or whatever, like my hand just like cramped.
Yeah.
Couldn't do anything with it because there's just, yeah, you're out of practice.
Right.
I feel like if you sit and you like really dwell on it, it could freak you out. But because you don't have time to process it,
Yeah.
you just kind of, you know,
Yeah.
you just gotta blast through it. But
Yep. Between songs, you shake it out. Yeah. I've had times when I haven't done an acoustic gig in a while, and then by halfway through my first gig in a few months, like my fingertips are just on fire.
mhm.
Like it's the callus strength has fallen way off. Even if I'm playing electric exclusively for a while, an acoustic gig will hurt me to some extent. Yeah, and we push through, don't we? This is our thing. We push through. We're going to give you some advice about that, but we know you're not going to listen.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say no. Like when you're in the thick of it, and to me, I think there is a little bit of like a show business kind of charm to it. It's like, this thing happened, and I did what I had to do, and we kind of use that as bragging rights or
Yeah, yeah,
talking about how tough we are. An example that was given in the Facebook group is taping your fingers or gluing injuries and stuff where you're physically not able to handle the stress of the job, but you've got to get through it, either way.
yep,
I don't think it's good. I think we do it, and I think there's a little bit of a, again, kind of a sheen to it because you feel like you're connected to all of the other performers and through the ages that have suffered for
right,
whatever it is that they're doing.
right,
But it is very much a damaging, destructive thing to do to
right.
yourself over and over again.
Yeah, and one way to think of it, I am currently taking a short term hit hiatus to my everything. I'm working from the couch, but that's
Yeah.
really all I'm doing. Playing video games. I'm revisiting the entire Bioshock
So this is a
line.
Stream Deck venture, yes?
It is. Forgotten how much fun those are. Maybe not the second one, but the first and the third for sure. Anyway, that's what I'm doing, right? I'm not gigging. I'm practicing some. My guitar's over here, but it's a short term pain for a long term solution. And I think we often are bad about doing that calculus.
Yes.
We choose the short term. It's not even really gain. It's like press through because I got to in the short term.
Well, the priority.
Yeah, without any thought about what the long term impact of it is. Cuts heal, chicks dig scars. Scars
Nice.
are very rock and roll, and so maybe that's the sense of it. Maybe it's just that scars are very rock and roll. But you got to take care of yourself too. You got to be looking out for your long term best interest, even to the extent that like long nights and alcohol and all the other sort of generally unhealthy stuff that comes with our scene.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not here to preach, but there is a short term pleasure for long term cost with almost all of those things.
Yeah. And that long term might be the next day, or it
Sure.
could be, a bit further down the road,
Yep.
And I think the other thing that is hard to wrap your head around is that we all, to some degree, understand that there is a finite lifespan of this kind of work.
Yeah.
And trying to determine when it's the time to hang it up, and the existential dread that comes with considering that inevitable reality.
Yeah.
With that comes the, you can call it fear, you can call it stubbornness or what have you, to prioritize short-term gain by ignoring potential long-term stuff.
Yeah.
But it does eventually all catch up with you. I think if you are looking at some of these legacy acts, you've got Ozzy Osbourne trying to facilitate some sort of farewell concert, because his body has finally given out after years of
Yeah.
stuff that he's been doing. And, I know that I've got arthritis in my hands from whatever that will inevitably be a factor in whether I can continue to play. And stories about singers getting older and not being able to do what they used to do are a dime a dozen these days.
Sure.
So there's a lot of stuff to take into consideration. And so the idea of just kind of pushing through stuff and not turning work down feels like maybe not the right choice, though it is the choice that we will more than likely continue to choose to make.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, this is advice that you're not going to follow, and neither are we.
But maybe we should still talk about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you considered the practical, like what you envision returning to playing looking like as you're kind of continuing to recover?
Yeah, I mean, there'll come a point in a couple of months where I will be in a walking boot part time and in a shoe part time, and I think that'll be about when I could probably roll up into a place, and then I will want to play sitting down because I won't have full strength in my leg yet. I don't have that gig booked. Like I need to reach out for like one of my regular places and schedule myself a comeback date, and then of course at some point we're doing the other foot, and I want to get that done this year because my insurance deductible is now handled. I'll be in the co-insurance percentage, but that means it'll be like $200.
Yeah.
So may as well do it now. And then that'll be another of this same period of lockdown and whatnot. The conversation I need to have with my band is whether we like how we want to engage given that. You know, I've kind of said, look, I'll be back available to talk in a couple of months. Not talk, I mean, I'm happy to talk, but like
Sure.
show up to stuff, rehearse. But then it's hard to think we could build momentum and then go through that again. So maybe we just want to keep it a rehearsal kind of schedule. So that means this year's kind of a wash.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. And you know, officially, I have no complaint if anybody who plays with me wants to find some other way to gig between now and then. I fully
Sure.
get it. It's killing me that I'm not gigging, so I'm sure it's killing them. And nobody owes me anything. So if that means that they get into some great situation and get really busy and they're not available to me later, well, that's the risk I'm taking here. And
Yeah.
and God bless them. You know, if that ends up happening, you know, with all my love, or maybe they'll just hang. We have fun.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to shake out.
But the idea that what you're doing is sacrificing potentially a year to realistically extend your performing career,
Totally.
exponentially.
Yeah, listen, I mean, not even just exponentially. Before I saw this doc and we got serious about this stuff, like I was really having thoughts like maybe I need to be done with this. Maybe I just can't keep up anymore. The way that I want to move around on stage is not possible for me. The way, you know, and if I do, I'm miserable the next day.
Yeah,
I'm miserable that night.
for sure.
I was having those thoughts, and so to think that I'll come back out of this and be the kind of physical presence that I was 5-10 years ago, like sweet, great, let's go. You know, it's awesome. Yeah, it's well worth the investment, I think.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like I don't have huge concerns. Generally, the things that I was able to do 5-10 years ago take a little longer to bounce back from. You start taking the ibuprofen the night of the gig and not the next morning.
That's right. Maybe even before the gig.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just kind of the way things go.
Yep.
Your body is not designed to do this stuff forever, and you just have to kind of think through what can you do, because there are things to do depending on the nature of the injury. You know, if you're having issues with your hands, you can find lighter strings, you can find thinner necks, you can find things that require less physical pressure in order to continue to do what you want to do.
Right.
You know, there's different footwear and chef's mats, and the idea maybe sitting down when you play. I mean, the guys that backed up John Mayer, bass player, sat down the whole night.
I mean, it's the thing people do.
Yep.
If you got hand issues, you know, there may be exercises to do that a physical therapist could give you. There are really great topicals. Voltaren cream is great for that. So there are ways to learn about your condition that will get you not just operating well now, but actually on a track toward healthy.
Yeah.
You know, if anybody's got like that weird thing my arm does, go see an arm doctor, because you shouldn't have to live like that, and you don't know what its trajectory is, and you don't know what treatments there might be that could change that trajectory.
Well, and I think it goes without saying that a body in motion stays in motion. So do the things that invest in your health outside of your gigging world.
Yes.
So do your cardio, do your yoga, do the stuff that will help you extend your physical viability, I guess is the word I would use.
Yeah. And look, I know some 70-year-olds who are in bands. They've got, their rigs slimmed down and they show up and they do their thing and they're great and they're super talented people. And they put on a different show than what they did when they were in their 20s, but it's still a great show. And, so there is always the opportunity to make the performance yours at whatever level you can deliver it.
And I think it also kind of gives me ideas about like, well, what would transitioning look like? Would it be like, okay, I'm just, I don't need to perform anymore and that's fine. Or do you kind of like just take on a different color of performance? It's like, at what point do I go, maybe I don't want to sing Journey anymore, but I could put on a tuxedo and do like a Tony Bennett kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. When do I shift gears to just become the crooner that I know that I'm meant to be?
For sure. You could do Elvis.
I've done it before in like sketches and things for competitions and whatnot, but yes, very much big fan of that vocal style.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably get there.
Yeah.
Just not all the what do you call it? Plastic surgery to look like him.
Right.
Nobody's asking for a ginger Elvis Presley.
I guess not.
I mean, we already have Conan O'Brien. That's probably about as close as we're ever going to get. And that's as close as we need to, honestly.
Yeah, closer, probably.
It's fair. So yeah, I guess in conclusion, things are going to always pop up. You're going to run into challenges of all different kinds. And it is a good idea to weigh the short-term and long-term risks of pushing through.
Yep.
Though you may choose not to.
That's right. And, take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be good to yourself. Physically, mentally, emotionally. We love you. Other people love you. Take care of yourself.
Yes. We want you to be able to do this as long as you want to.
Yeah.
Key on the want to part. Not have to.
Right.
Any other parting words?
No, I think we've said it.
I agree. Big thanks to Jeff and everybody who's chimed in on the group about this particular topic. If you have any additional information you think we skipped over or missed, let us know about it. coverbandconfidential@gmail.com. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can just drop it in the comments. We will definitely continue this conversation because I think it's important. I think everybody's going to end up staring down the barrel of this at some point or another. So,
yep.
Let's keep the dialogue open. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Couldn't do it without you. If you like to support the show, you can do any of these things, but I'll go ahead and cut for this week. In Atlanta, Georgia, I am Adam Johnson.
In Greensboro, North Carolina, I'm Dan Ray.
You've been listening to the Cover Band Confidential podcast for the week of February 21st, 2025.